Hey guys, Rob here. Haven't done Midconvo in a couple weeks, and I actually have done Midconvo. To be honest, I recorded it like 3 different times one night. I kept deleting it, and I had some video then, and I did it. This was like a week later. I had some video, and I started recording one, and I was like, it's not going anywhere. I wasn't saying what I wanted to say, type of thing. But anyway, I decided, since today I was off and I made some guitar videos and I'm all set up in here anyway, I figured I would just do it live. Talk about some things on my mind, drink some coffee. I'm out of coffee. Sucks. Anyway, yeah, I just figured I'd get on here. We just released a contrast kind of compilation video of like archive footage that I go through early in the quarantine. I was just going through archive.org and just looking at old footage, and I just love the way, I think old film footage is very aesthetically pleasing. I think it's just cool to look at. I figured, hey, cool. We can't shoot videos. We want to release this album. So I put together like a little thing, and it was like a bunch of protest videos and all this stuff that like I felt, it was along the lines of like what I was trying to say with Contrast, like kind of the underlying like theme, but it's funny, it was like right around when we were going to release that stuff, it was the Friday after George Floyd was murdered, and yeah, it kind of threw us off. We were like, well, I'm not gonna release this, it's just too on the nose. It would just seem like like we were doing something to like exploit whatever was going on, and I was like, I'm not releasing this. And Blake hit me up like a month later, sometime in like July, I forget when, but he was like, yeah, you should really put that video out. It just made me emotional, and like the song made me emotional and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I want to put that out. But the other half of me putting that out, I also wanted to get on here and like maybe clarify, music's up for interpretation, visual, everything we release. Like I'm not confused that like once it leaves my laptop and goes out to the world, like it's in your guys' hands. It's up for interpretation, and anything I say, do, whatever. And that's why I do try to just let go of whatever the reaction is to anything. And the reaction's been great to it, so I'm not on here really reacting to anything. I did want to say my piece. You know me, I talk a lot. So I wanted to say kind of my piece about like what that song kind of meant to me. And Contrast was like simple. It's like a lot of the stuff, I don't even think I'm quite there with clearly saying what I want to say yet, and I think that's what I struggle with, and that's why I've been held up words-wise lately. But Contrast was definitely a song I was like, I want to repurpose old lyrics, because my tone towards life has completely changed. And I talk about this stuff a lot, especially since we've been releasing Harmony. Like, I talk about this stuff a lot. Past year, since the Grayscale tour, since 2 years ago when I went on Warped Tour with Grayscale, like my attitude has changed a lot towards everything in life. The way I approach music, the way I approach writing, the way I approach fan engagement and reaction, and like the whole thing, everything's changed. And my attitude has changed, and it's been really, really good, positive for me, right? Big thing about Contrast was I wanted to repurpose some things. I also wanted to say what I mean to say. I don't think what I mean to say since day one has ever changed. My attitude about how to get there is what has changed. This band started, at a time where I was more, the way I grew up was, I think I was a very awake child at like a young age, and when I was like 10, 11, 12, like I was very like awake to things. I was very like acutely aware of things, and I saw the way that the world operated, and I thought a lot of things were very absurd. Like just the way, like everything seemed so simple to me, and the way people were prejudiced or biased, and like different ways that people were, it just drove me nuts. And reactively, I really ended up being the asshole. To be honest, I was very cynical, and I thought everybody that was a piece of shit was a piece of shit, and I was going to be more of a piece of shit to outweigh, and it was kind of like an arms race. And honestly, I just ended up being in a lone, isolated piece of shit. And when I got clean, things started to turn around, but like, I think my attitude's just progressively, continually turning around. Like, hopefully next year I'll be more clear about more things. But as of right now, I'm pretty clear, and I'm pretty happy about how things are right now, which is good. It's good to be present. It's good to enjoy the present. And I enjoy the present. And my whole thing about people, I think I've always understood without understanding, but I think I've always understood that there's an interconnectedness between all beings, animals, all of it. I think there's just an interconnectedness, Listen, you don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to be, it's not like some woo-woo shit to say. It's, like, you could ask scientists, like, when I was a kid, I used to think, I hated anybody that was religious and all this stuff. I had all this baggage against religions and all this stuff, and I used to, like, use science, like, and this is like an uneducated, misinformed, like, approach, but I used to be like, science disproves that type of stuff, and it's like, that's not true at all. Like, people like some of the great scientists that everybody quotes all the time, like, I'll just keep it real simple, like Einstein's and people like that, quantum physicists, people in quantum mechanics, like, a lot of that stuff is like, it's very, like, these people are spiritual people, like, they believe, like, there's an interconnectedness, and it's, a lot of stuff is, I'm not a scientist, but I've heard enough scientists talk about the proof of just that all things are connected in the universe in some way, shape, or form, right? And there's enough unexplained things and all that stuff. So I'm just saying the interconnectedness in a secular way. You don't have to believe in anything to believe that. But actually, I don't need you to believe shit. I just believe that there's an interconnectedness, and I get to express what the fuck I want when I have the microphone, right? So contrast is my way of saying, it's kind of my way of saying, like, my attitude has changed. A big thing for me was, it was always like, well, if you don't understand why to be kind to people and why to be good, then I'm going to be an asshole to you. And really what happens then is I'm the unkind one. I'm the reactive one, right? So this kind of, like, a lot of the past couple of years has been about, like, acknowledging some things are ignorance, some things are misinformation, some people have a low intelligence quotient, some people don't understand things, some people were raised a certain way, some people this, some people that, whatever. And I've come to not only, like, it was easy for me to accept, like, differences, surface level differences, right? Like, I'm a straight white guy. It's easy for me to accept gay, black, transgender, like, things like that. That's easy for me to accept because it just adds up. That is a human being, right? Like, that's what that is, right? The tough things for me to accept is someone being like a bigot towards somebody, like, and I'm reactive to anyone who's cruel or mean. And some of the acceptance I've gotten the past few years is very much like, where does that come from? Where does the, where does that pig-headedness come from? Where does where does that aggression come from? And I've really gotten to, like, look at some things. Like, even people that I always felt like I was being bullied by when I was a kid and all this type of stuff. And these, like, macho dudes and stuff like that, and I really start to, like, unpack it, and, like, I had low self-esteem when I was a kid, so I didn't understand why they were just mean to me, right? I thought I was, like, I believed them when they said I was ugly, and when they said I was stupid, and when they said I was bad at sports and all that stuff, and I believed it, right? And I didn't realize, like, later on in life, I realized, like, dude, you're not an idiot, And then I further realized, I was like, you're pretty intelligent, and you're a good-looking guy, right? I never acknowledged that as a kid because I had such low self. Phone call right now. So anyway, I didn't acknowledge that when I was a kid, and sorry, I just got a phone call, it messed me up. But the more I did realize that, the more you realize, like, people can be intimidated that they're not that, and they gotta throw stones to bring you down, and and some of it is like learning to love them because they're, like, that's weakness. Imagine living. I think about it like I have friends that are grown adults, like in their late 30s, that like they're just dumb, and they're like voting for Trump, and they're like, they have guns, and and they have, like, my one buddy has tribal tattoo, and it's like, dude, I feel bad. Honestly, like, I meet that person with love and empathy. Says the dumbest things to me, about me, to others. Says the dumbest things, like, always the dumbest things. And, like, I show that dude love, and, like, whenever he's hurting and whenever he's in pain, like, he reaches out to me and my friends, and, like, we take care of him. And we don't agree politically and all that stuff. But he's a human being, and I can see the humanness, and I can see the suffering. Like, when we talk about suffering, I care about the suffering of people that are easily likable personalities in their community and all that stuff. I do. I care about that. But how about the one that really feels ostracized on the corner of a community, right? Because they don't have the same beliefs and, like, politics. It's like the most polarizing thing ever. Look at it. It's like it's at the point where it's like, oh, if you, like, with my, like, circle of people, right? Like, I hang out with, like, a lot of liberals and lefties, and and I don't subscribe to, like, a specific party. I would never vote for either of the morons that are running for president. But I might have to vote for one, whatever. It's a whole thing. But I'm not getting political. I'm actually trying to depoliticize this. I'm trying to say that there's a humanness, and there's too many things to understand to just lead with, like, divisiveness, and to lead with, like, you're over there, you are separate. Because listen, at the end of the day, my priority, and this doesn't need to be your priority, this is my mic, so I'm just saying my priority, and I'm allowed to say that, and you can talk about, we can all talk about privileges, all things that I acknowledge. I 100% acknowledge every privilege I've ever had. I come from a good family. I'm a straight white guy in America. I acknowledge all that. That's not like listen, if you're watching this and you hear privilege and you're like, oh man, I hate these liberals and lefties talking about privilege, whatever, like any of my friends that don't believe in any of that stuff, listen, saying that you have privilege, saying that you have privilege, it's not a negative thing. It's not like you have privilege so you didn't work hard. That's not what anybody's saying. It's just that we do have privileges, and it's good to acknowledge them. And I acknowledge them. I have many privileges, past the glaring ones. But yeah, and with those privileges, even, that's a great topic to get on, because with those privileges comes a responsibility even further so to, I have such great social standing and all that stuff in the communities that I'm part of that, like, I don't care what it looks like when I go and stand and talk to that guy, and I don't care what it looks like, I don't have to, I don't care. The integrity piece will carry me always. When I have integrity to who I am and what I believe, that will always carry me, and I get to have the peace because I don't hold people apart, because I did that long enough. I held people apart. I held people as separate than me. I held myself as the moral high ground for long enough, and it's just not where I am anymore, and it makes life a little easier. There's still so much room for growth. Trust me, there's things I'm obsessed with lately. We got an election coming up. A lot of crazy stuff going on. But I do say all that to say, contrast, as I was starting out to say, contrast is just about acknowledging and celebrating the differences between people, accepting that life is like a flow. It's a yin and a yang. You don't have yin without yang. You wouldn't know what happiness was if there wasn't pain. But also acknowledging that we don't need to suffer. Pain and joy and all that stuff, great. We don't have to suffer, and suffering, I believe, starts with separation. So if we can quit with the separation bullshit, I think we can stop suffering so much. Anyway, good night. Bye.